Good morning, everyone. Happy 4th day of Christmas. It is December 28th. My name is Karina, and I'm coming to you from the Pacific Northwest. I'm on my way out to feed the horses. It is about 6:20 or so a.m. Oh, I gotta back up and show you the picture of what the moon looks like. Pretty incredible. I've already been at work for a little bit, as it was raining pretty hard when I was initially going to go out and feed the horses, so I just thought I would rearrange my schedule a little bit. I don't know about you, but this time of year I let go a lot of routines and things that I'm gonna look at the moon again. It is just awesome. And just sort of reflect on how things might be different. And it's a sense of maybe feeling a little untethered or a little ungrounded. Stop and look at the lights, look at the outflow of the creek. Looks bigger on this side. Although it is very politely in its banks on this side. There's the house. There's the barn. So I just want to sit with that feeling of feeling a little bit ungrounded, and that perhaps change is coming, and be okay with that. And I think I mentioned yesterday that I'm pretty attached to my routines. I call it my beloved schedule, BS for short, and could use a little more flexibility. I see the horses' eyeballs. They are by the tree that they stand at when it's stormy, probably wondering where their breakfast is because I'm late. There's you can see because he's gray. Heading up to the barn. The moon is just incredible. All right, well, I am going to get to feeding, and I'll talk further on this subject later. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the knitting portion of my podcast. I have a couple things to show you and a few things I want to talk about. I started the subject while I was walking out to the barn about just kind of a time of transition and reflection, and I want to continue that thought before I talk about knitting. And I guess what I was getting at is that leading up to the holidays, at least up here in the very north part of the United States, it gets very dark, and there's I feel a lot of anticipation around it getting dark and needing to slow down a bit, maybe with my goals, maybe with my schedule. And honestly, I'm not really sure why I say that, because I am such an early morning person that most of my activities occur in broad daylight, because by the time sunset comes around, even by this time of year, I'm getting kind of tired. So the evening light, I don't think has as much of an impact on me as whether or not it's raining, and possibly the temperature, and whether or not it's windy. I think whether it's rainy or windy has more of an impact on me versus temperature. So when I say a time of transition, I mean, technically we're supposed to be getting a little more daylight. I haven't really noticed yet. I mean, it's easy to notice when there's a bright moon and clear skies. But this time of year, I think we're kind of in I've described this before, kind of our solstice week. It's probably getting maybe up to a minute more daylight now, hardly observable. But it's really the weather. We are just really settling into winter. The solstice was the transition between fall and winter, and so now we are settling into winter. And I think I set myself up for the expectation that once the solstice comes and it starts to get daylight again, then I get to transition into spring activities, which in some ways means more gardening, maybe wanting to be outside a little bit more. The local trails will be open. Right now, our activities are restricted to the logging and fire roads to just preserve the integrity of the trails in our location. It's hilly around here and rainy, and that combination can cause a lot of mud and runoff and destruction of trails. So the trails tend to close around here between November and maybe even as late as May. I want to say April, they kind of start opening up. So I want to address this idea, it's kind of a conflicting idea of settling into winter, yet wanting to garden. Part of that is driven by my seed catalogs have come, and I will include a picture of this at the end. It's sort of, I'm planning for gardening, and there's certainly things that you can plant right now. I really enjoy, it's a podcast, from a British guy named Ben, and it's called Grow Veg. And one thing I really like is that his garden is located in Great Britain, but it's at roughly the same latitude, or at least the same climate zone that I'm in. So it really resonates with me. And if I don't have that in my show notes, I will put it in my show notes in case you're interested and are able to maybe do a little gardening or even a little indoor gardening where you are. I just harvested some microgreens that I had with lunch, and they just taste so fresh and good and add a little bit of pepperiness to my meal. So that was really fun. And I'm going to plant more. So I'm kind of gathering all my gardening supplies and thinking about what I can plant now. I mean, some of the things I can plant now include I can start onion sets and peas and microgreens and herbs and stuff like that. I have a very small indoor garden with some grow lights set up, and that's where my microgreens are. And in fact, I've overwintered a pepper plant because I learned from at least one of the gardening podcasts that I watch or vlogs is that peppers are actually perennial, so you can overwinter them in a sheltered location with possibly a grow light. So that's pretty cool. Just water. This is my Horse Radio Network mug. I have a link to that podcast. It's an audio podcast in my show notes in case you're interested. So, shall we talk about knitting? So I have shown this before. This is a Scrappy cowl I made from, like several of these colors are part of a unicorn tail bouquet, or otherwise known as a mini set. So these are technically supposed to go together, and they kind of do. It just seemed to be what I was matched for today. So the pattern itself is of my own design. It was just a 13 stitch pattern repeat, and I just cast on, I think, 169 stitches. And I've said before that I would make this a little bit smaller. I'd probably cut out 26 stitches. So wherever you cast on, if you use the 13 stitch lace pattern, which you can find online in a stitch dictionary, just cast on in multiples of 13. So I don't remember. I probably US size 3 is my guess, is what I used. And I think the unicorn tails came from, I want to say Hue Loco, because I think I ordered some other stuff from it, some mohair. And that was before I found out that I don't really like wearing mohair. It's kind of itchy. So what have I been working on? I worked on my shawl. So this is made out of Advent skein. So the idea is that each color stripe is part of an Advent skein. And I had worked on this side for a while. This side was on waste yarn, and I'm showing you the wrong side. I apologize. But I finished this section, and then it calls for you to cast on, or not cast on, pick up and knit this edge here, and then start on where you left off last time. So I feel like I'm making some progress. Most of this yarn is from an Advent, it's the Canadian Polka Dot Creek Advent bundle bouquet. But some of these, since I've been kind of sticking with pinks and purples, this variegated and these two variegated are from a row 1 mini collection that I got. So that's where I am with that. I am making lots of progress on my Arne Carlos stocking. The needles for that, by the way, are Chowgu red lace. I believe they are size 3. So I think I'm on day 16 of the Arne Carlos stocking. So yeah, it is getting there. You can see the little people pattern. Pretty cool. So I'm back up in the green and white section. And I think I'm getting like maybe 3 sections a day. So if I'm on day 16, then it should be I should be done over the weekend. So that's well in advance of the 12th day of Christmas. And today, I think I mentioned it earlier, is the 4th day of Christmas. So, and it's funny, ironic, something. It's funny that I'm thinking about gardening. I just have this big urge to garden, and on this 4th day of Christmas. I don't know what to think about that, but other than that, I am determinedly working on getting rid of all the sugary goodies that we got for Christmas. Randy was smart. He took his to work and left it on the coffee table, or not the coffee table, the lunchroom table for other people. I don't have that option, so the lunchroom table is here in the kitchen. And I've been eating, trying to eat like a pretty good breakfast with maybe a vegetable or something, and then working on the chocolate and the cookies. So I think I'm gonna have a piece of leftover cheesecake for dessert here shortly. And then I'll get back to the business of, eating, including more produce in my diet here soon. So on that note, I'm gonna bid you a fond farewell and see you tomorrow for the 5th day of Christmas.